But I'm here tonight because I truly believe in what God is doing here in this community through these stations. And I don't know if any of you have ever lived in a community where they don't have Christian radio, but if you have, and then you move to a place like this, you are profoundly grateful for what God is doing through the radio ministries of this country. You know, we have the tendency, I'm afraid, to take for granted what God is doing in our midst, and if we're not careful, then we end up getting transferred someplace where there isn't a ministry like this, and we find out in a hurry how much we have depended on what God was doing in our lives through Christian radio. I've been involved in Christian radio now for many years, almost 30 years, in one form or another. And I've watched what God has done over these years through the ministry of radio. I met a young lady tonight who listened to Turning Point while she was in prison, and she just got out last week. And God used radio to encourage her heart. There's a family here that I got to know in the church I started in Fort Wayne, Indiana, who came to know the Lord through that church. And in that city, I started a little radio program called Contact, and I used to go to the radio station every morning at 7:15. I didn't have any studios in the church, so I just went to the station and did it live every morning, Monday through Friday, rain or snow. And I did that for a number of years, and that's how I got started doing radio. And then we came to California, and in 1987 we started Turning Point Radio 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day, and had no idea what God was going to do. You know, the irony of all of this, folks, is that when God called me to preach, I was a speech and broadcast major in college. I was a disc jockey at an FM station in Springfield, Ohio, and I helped start the CDR network at Cedarville College. And I thought my whole life was going to be wrapped up in radio. And when I was called to preach, the one thing that I struggled with more than anything else was that this meant I was going to have to give up the love of my life, radio, and go to the ministry. And I've thought since, I don't know how good I would have been as a disc jockey, but I never would have been on 1,000 radio stations, I promise you that. And God just takes what He puts in our lives and He gives us the desires of our heart, doesn't He? And what a thrill and what a journey it's been to be able to preach and teach and have the Word of God go across the country by means of radio and television and touch the lives of people and change them. And without stations like the ones that are here in Mobile, we wouldn't have an audience. We're the message, but these people are the conduits of the message. They make it possible for us to get into your homes and into your cars. So while you're doing everything you can to bless us, and so many of you have done that, don't forget to bless the stations that make us possible in your life, because without them, we wouldn't be here. And we're so grateful, and that's the reason why, even though I don't do a lot of this anymore, I traveled across the country today to be here tonight to say, in this wonderful anniversary night, thank you for what you do. Thank you for the ministry of these stations and for letting Turning Point have a small part in what goes out over the airwaves here in this community.